Welcome back, guys. Welcome to Suits and Tracksuits, episode 6. And I'm your host today, Dexter. Oh, it's 5?
Yeah.
Definitely 5?
Yeah.
100% it's 5. Yo, guys. Welcome back to Suits and Tracksuits, episode 5, with your host, Dexter Sims, and my co-host,
Javid Laher.
Hope you enjoy. So, Jav, we're here again.
Here we are.
Episode 5. They thought we was gonna stop, but we're continuing.
We've got a lot to talk about, haven't we?
We got a lot to talk about, you know what I mean? Like, where do we start, you know? I think today I wanted to discuss about anger management in the workplace
Yeah.
and in the business.
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously you wear a suit and I wear a tracksuit. So people might think the tracksuit guy's gonna get angry all the time. But obviously in a suit, you must get angry too.
100%.
How do you deal with anger in your industry?
Yeah, and
Squeaky chair.
I think it's such a valuable topic because aside of what we're wearing, we're humans, right? And if we go back to reasons for anger and an emotion, having an emotion, whether it's happy, sad, joy, adventurous, whatever stage we're at, there's usually a cause. Now, in the workplace, and talking from experience, there are times where I've spoken up, and it's because of the cause. And I'll give you an example. So let's say I went for a certain role in a certain team, right? Smashed interviews, everything went really well. Then I hear someone telling me, like good feedback, and everyone in the team's like, yeah, we're excited for you to join, right? And then I get told I didn't get the job by the hiring manager. So I'm like, why? He's like, I don't know. I can't tell you anything else. I'm like, but you were the hiring manager. How comes? Someone within his team told me, I can't believe your manager stopped you getting that role. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, they've had one person leaving already, and now they can't have a second person. That's what they told my manager. And then they're like, oh, I don't think I was meant to tell you. And I was so upset because, in the corporate place, you're on this sort of, career development program that you get to a certain place and then you do all these extra things and then you go up the next level. And it's all like breadth and depth, and they talk about a lot of these things. And again, it's a past company from a few years ago, so current company is great. So
just a disclaimer.
Just a disclaimer about
his
any
current
names,
company,
any
his current
company
workplace is great.
It's great. From the age of 16, somewhere along those lines, right? So happened at a previous. So yeah, I got told I didn't get the role. And then when they couldn't give me a reason, because I'm like, okay, it's fine if I don't get a role, that's fine. Give me feedback.
I want a reason, I want some feedback, yeah.
Give me something for growth. I'm receptive. We're not perfect. We're always learning. I always say we're students of life. If there's a softer skill or if there's a particular qualification I need to do or be mentored by someone, tell me. But if you're coming to me and you can't tell me the reason, and then I've heard, well, your manager stopped you, so I've obviously gone to speak to my manager. And I've said, and I've said, why did you do this? I said, I put my best foot forward. I spent all this time preparing, because you're preparing evenings, weekends, sacrificing family events, and it's not like you're just going for a job overnight. You've prepared 2 years for this type of role. So then they can't give you justification, and then you've approached the guy, and then, what did he say? He said, you're temperamental, aren't you?
Oh, you see,
and I'm like, you've called
me,
and to diffuse me, and I'm like, I can't see how this is temperamental. I'm just temperamental. I've just asked you, here's the facts.
Oh, sorry, you're getting a bit aggressive now, though.
Yeah, exactly.
You see?
And then you're just like, what are you trying to do? And it's like, yeah, I think you should think about how you come across. And I've just gone in to say, I didn't get the role. I'm asking you why you've stopped me getting the role. Can you give me a reason? If they would have said, look, because I did have great client feedback, I'm not going to lie. If a CEO recognizes your work for your feedback from clients and your clients are messaging them, that's something good. If you've had awards for the work you've done, that's something good.
Stuff,
if you've got good results and you've been set up in the right way, and you've made the effort, results speak for themselves.
100%.
So when he said that, I was like quite shocked. And it goes back to one of my points in the previous series about politics. Then it's politics and brand management. And then in the workplaces, there are sort of closed networks and closed circles. So at school, again, they say
the friendship circles and that.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. All the friendship circles I can't deal with, because you feel like you want to try and fit in there, or you want to fit in there. You're like, no, I can't play this game you lot are playing.
Exactly. And it's not, for me, it's accept me for who I am. I will respect you, but respect me back. And that's our sort of commonality. I'm not going to change my ways. And I hope I'm a good person. I try to give back to community. I've mentored loads of people. And when the team, your colleagues like ask you for advice and just like some time to chat to you about
Give it
opinions.
to them, yeah.
And I love that. It's like, oh wow, that's nice of you that you've accepted my time or you want to speak to me. But yeah, so I'd say anger management, when it comes to it, I think it's in the workplace. I do feel like, again, not my current company. It's fantastic that in the past, I felt you almost have to, as much as people say, be yourself and speak your truths, you have to suppress of what happens to you because people who call the shots don't always want you to speak up. Yeah. So you have to kind of play along with a fake game, and I can't do fake, and that's where I exclude myself from things.
Leading off the back of that, I think that's the reason why I've always gone down the independent route.
Yeah.
Because I don't take blockage lightly. Mm-hmm. You know, not saying I react in a certain way, but as in it emotionally hurts. Mm-hmm. I can't take bias. Mm-hmm. You know, you just don't want to give me that position just cause, and then you don't want to give me an explanation. I don't like people who abuse their authority. Yeah. So I feel like, yes, I might can try and curve my anger, but to a certain limit, because it's like, you're suppressing me. Yeah, you're belittling me. Yeah. You know, I'm a grown man and I'm a father. And I feel like you might be stopping my food from my table, or you might be blocking my blessings because you have that position of power. So the anger, I've always thought, to curb that, I'm going to stay independent. Little did I know, being independent, I probably got to deal with more human beings than if I was in the workplace. Yeah. Because you got to deal with a couple colleagues and your manager. When I run my companies, I've got to deal with the public. I've got to deal with staffing. I've got to deal with management. And then I realized, it's only recently I've realized, people management is a proper skill. Yeah. A skill I didn't get taught. A skill I didn't know existed. I thought being nice is just nice. But in business, there is a different form of communication.
100%.
And curbing your anger, having empathy for another human, having empathy for your staff, having empathy for mistakes, I found it hard to deal with. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I used to be horrible. And this is hands up, I used to be horrible. Some might say I'm still horrible. But I used to be horrible because I used to say things, and I can tell you straight, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I used to say things like, why are you telling me about your personal life? Because that's their excuse. You know, like, I don't know, their car broke down, or they got baby mother drama, or they lost their money, or they done this. I'm thinking, this is what I used to be like. Why are you telling me about your personal life? Me and you have business, we have an agreement. I didn't tell you about my personal life. I didn't tell you that I beefed with my baby mother this morning. I didn't tell you that my son school's phoning me this morning. I'm talking about the contract. What's our thing, what we got? Don't tell me about your life, because if I told you about my life, you'll be stressed. That was a bad approach. I never knew that. Yeah. Because I want something from that person. Do you get it? So it's hard. It was hard for me to, even now it's still hard for me to allow people to use their life as an excuse when I'm trying to operate as a professional company, and I believe from viewing other staff members in companies, Barclays, Tesco's, wherever it is, you miss a day, you nearly get fired. You come from lunch break, 5 minutes late, you get disciplinary. So I'm thinking, hold on. So my staff just take the piss then. Yeah. They proper take the biscuit, because I'm thinking, hold on. They can come late, they can use stuff, they can lose stuff, they can break stuff, they can stay extra. And all I ask for sometimes is, you know, the respect of my equipment, the respect of my brand, definitely the respect of a position. Because I think one of the mistakes I make is being over-friendly. And it makes them become familiar. So, you know, I used to do a lot of bad stuff, like give my staff members my phone number. Because I think how I work is when our PA hates me. She don't hate me really, she loves me. Love you, Chloe. But she used to say, I don't do phone calls, I don't work on Fridays, and I don't work after 6. I'm like, what are you talking about, bruv? I pay you. Like, I pay you, I need to talk to you. But guess what? That's made her business run a certain way. With me now, all my staff who've got my numbers, they're texting me at 11:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, Dex, what do you think of this? What do I think of my eyelids need to close? How about that? Do you know what I mean? So there is a little distance between friendly and familiarity, which leads on to my anger problem. Because even being an independent person, a lot of your results count towards your success.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you put a result-based project in front of a staff member, they don't know the importance of it being delivered on time, complete, rare, because in your mind, they're just doing their job. But in their mind, when they do their job, or if they don't, it's neither here nor there. But in your mind, it goes towards a result that leads to a successful place. Once that messes up, it's like you've messed up the result. And then it becomes personal, where when I've been taught when I was growing up, don't take business personal, I flipped it on its head and said, my business feeds my family. So if business messes up and my family don't eat, it's personal. But I'm still trying to learn to curve that sentence too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All these things I had to learn. Sorry, I just give you Andy every mic, but all these things I had to learn because I didn't go business school. I didn't work for a company. I haven't been in an organization. I haven't seen a structured from CEO to PA to management to staff to team. No. So I'm just freestyling and I'm dealing with people. Not realizing that, I do run a company now and it's successful. So the positions, everybody needs agreements and contracts. I didn't even used to do that because I used to believe your word is your word. My word is my word. But in the real world, if you don't have contracts and agreements, it can lead to problems and problems lead to disagreements and disagreement leads to anger management.
100%. And there's a few points you mentioned there. And, as leaders, I from what I've seen, companies don't always get it right either, who have training invested in their teams and management and all the rest of it.
I wouldn't know that.
And, for example, in an instance with myself, I think compassion and empathy is very important. And I'm going to touch on something quite personal here, but I lost 3 people in a very short space of time. The biggest loss, or all lives are valuable, but my dad was my closest person. And as you know, when we grew up in Kennington, your house was just opposite ours, and you said yourself you've hardly seen me outside as a kid, right?
Yep, not outside our little playing bit, no. Yeah.
And I used to get bullied at times, and growing up, my dad sort of became my best friend. He's the person I'd go to advice for. He's always full of wisdom and knowledge. But I had a really close relationship with my dad, where I really respected my dad. He was a hard worker. He was a respected individual in the area, and so when he died, I felt like a part of me went with him.
Oh, bless him.
Now, it took a while, and in fact, before he passed, he said to my mum, "Look, I'm worried about Javid the most, and one of my other brothers, because we're quite, I guess, empathetic."
Emotional
and
touchy, yeah.
Even though he might not show in my workplace, but there was a big connection. So after he went, it's like simple days of, my dad would message me on my birthday or send me a WhatsApp voice note or something.
It's serious now. Can I just jump in there right there? It's serious, mate.
Yeah.
Because my dad, love you, Dad. He messaged me at midnight on my 38th birthday.
Yeah.
And I felt, look at that.
Yeah.
That's my hero right there. That's my dad. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I get that.
And, if I pin certain things that happen, so for example, when I was working somewhere, I was really upset because I got told, and this is before Dad passed, they had 2 weeks left. It was in palliative care. And palliative care is end-of-life care, right? So what happens, where we grew up, you're kind of hard, We went to a boys' school, we grew up in South London, you don't show weakness. So I've gone into my workplace going, I don't like it here anymore, right? And it's just, I didn't know how to handle it because my mood is completely off. You've just been told your dad's on palliative care. Yeah. And emotionally, I'm a mess. But I'm not going to say, hey, it's not something I'm used to in the sense of you don't really talk about your feelings, right?
Talk about feelings, yeah.
And then it's like, okay. And, bless the people who supported me through that because I had some very good people at the time supporting me through that. And I was learning about myself. Anyway, Dad passed. quite a life-changing moment for me. Some other people passed in my life, and I think after that I really felt it, because then I started missing people. The events weren't the same. You feel the absence of your sort of senior members of the family, as it were, and I love that setup. So, and I still remember in a workplace I was at, and I was a little bit down just at one point because it got a little bit on top of me because my mum was impacted. And I remember one person saying to me, like, what's your problem? Like, we were good with you at your dad's time. You had time off, so we don't know what's wrong with you. And I was like, if only you knew what I was going through. Because of my previous experience of expressing myself, I'm like, well, I can't express myself. I can't tell you what I think. I can't. So I'll suppress it. So when I've spoken to professionals, they're like, you've had a lot of suppressed anger because you've had things said to you, you've not responded to it, or you've tried to just cover up your emotion and your feeling, and as a result of that, it's impacted you internally. And I was in and out of hospital. I had kidney problems. I had a potential fatal growth, which is okay, right?
God bless.
Thank God. So I was in and out of Marylebone Street. I didn't want to be around people. So even in the office, I'd sit on the outside of the office because I just didn't want to tell anyone.
Marylebone Street, not St. Thomas's. Yeah? Marylebone Street. Oh.
So I was in and out, speaking to consultants, getting results, being put in those MRI machines, MRI scan machines, right? And then I look back, it's because, the stress led to a variety of health problems. And I just felt, it's when you try to suppress your anger because you don't want to upset people, it can impact you internally. So I think in the workplace, there should be a way you can express yourself.
So there's no department for that?
Well, let's not go there because there's titles and documents to cover every policy. It doesn't mean that it's
that is helpful. Yeah. It's really existence.
And when you go through things, you realise what really matters. And and I look back at periods of my life, and I think as a human, all I needed was someone I trusted to speak to, and just say, "Hey, look, I'm going through a really hard time right now. I might not be myself." And imagine you've just a couple of years before that, you've been on stage because you've got this fancy award with everyone recognizing because you've gone all out. Like I've missed family events to attend US company meetings and stuff for a certain company, I won't mention which. But, I've sacrificed a lot of my personal time. I've put a lot into this business. There were things I was doing I wasn't even saying because I saw it as my responsibility. I don't even drink, okay? But I was out with my clients late at night because I was there on drinks and that. Now, again, it's the UK, that's fine. Everyone does whatever they want. I was quite happy with my pineapple juice. And if anyone ever wants to take me out for a drink, pineapple juice is the one, but not too many, because when I come off that sugar high, I get a really bad headache. So, but I was like, okay, this is business. You put the company first, but then I'm like, you know what? You need to put yourself first. So whilst the topic is anger and having emotion, I think people need to realize that there are ways you can talk and communicate, but it requires people to be receptive and understand to allow people to express it and not, we did this for you, we did that for you, why are you being like this? It's like, and I think that's a message for the world, that if someone is being a little bit different with you, don't automatically take it personally and don't assume it's you. And I think that's where empathy comes into it. And it's no point talking about empathy if you're not practicing it. A lot of companies talk about empathy and compassion. If you don't live by it, it doesn't matter how much you talk about it on stage.
I don't think a lot of companies really believe it. Like Gary Vee talks about it 100%, which I believe. If I went to Gary Vee, what's it called, VaynerMedia, with his 300 staff, I believe 250 of them will proper smile at me and be so happy. Like, hi, do you want a tea? Yeah. I just believe that because of he proper advocates for it. He even says your staff, you work for your staff. Your staff don't work for you. It's empathy in the workplace is a major thing.
100%. And I think to appreciate good people, like I look back at certain places and I really send good vibes to those who are genuinely good people. Because you can spot that, right? But also you realize in your time of need what really matters and what doesn't. So again, keeping it on the topic and not going down a diversion from my part is we all face emotions. We go through different things in life. I think it's important to talk about your topics. And I think this is more for companies to listen rather than individuals. Because
I'm a company because I need to know from the top because I've found it difficult with communicating with staff, with public because of, I don't know, where they might see me, or even sometimes where I might see them. So you can see I might belittle, I might look down on some people sometimes, or the understanding of mindset, you know, we can't communicate, I'm not getting the right. So I've had miscommunication throughout my life because, again, I didn't go to business school to learn about empathy in the workplace for your staff. Yeah. I've become a boss. I didn't apply to be a boss, which came with a description. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I think if I look at it simply, it's people are humans first. And the moment we appreciate that people have like emotions, people have requirements in terms of just having safety, security. When you look at it from that perspective and detach taking things personally, if people are on a good track in their home environment, in their personal lives, that will come across in the workplace. Oppositely, if someone isn't in a good place in their personal life and home life and have other stresses on, that would also come out. But I think as humans and as leaders and as sort of people of responsibility, it's upon us to make sure that we really understand. Because the worst thing you can do is make someone feel worse than they already are by saying things, extra things, which you're just adding to their stress. And you're just like, why would you do that? It takes, quite a cruel mindset to do that to someone, but it happens, So I think the biggest thing I'll say is compassion and empathy, don't just speak about it, but live by it and truly mean it. Because right now I feel the most resilient I've ever felt in my life. I'm so grateful I have a title which I absolutely love, and it's not just my title, it's a good company, great role in a fantastic space, in the social media space, which is the most happening space. We're going through a recession, we're going through, economic climate. I have my various other ventures at weekends, and it's just coming out of it, like you go through things and you grow through it.
You grow through things, that is what it is, you grow through things, yeah.
So, and you learn from things in terms of that communication part, what works, what doesn't work.
I'm learning so much, mate. The things that I haven't learned because I haven't been in the workplace, I've had to learn, I would say, the hard way. Yeah. Because even now, when I say the word staff, I started off with the word team member and family, because that's how I want it to feel. That's how I want it to come across. Throughout my years of experiencing when people believe they're your family, when they walk in, walk on decks, and I think, okay. Or they text you in the middle of the night, okay. Or he tells you, let me get this or let me do. I think, did I make him become too familiar? Cool. But then there's another situation. When I realized that I have to treat people like staff, not in a rude way, but as in, I am boss, I am management, you are staff, you are on a wage, you are on a contract. But I had to learn a hard way when one time a staff member literally tried to swindle me. And it's happened many times, but there's a specific time I remember in my head where we was filming, so you work Monday to Friday, how many other hours, how much ever wages. Now on Friday, you heard us all talking about the video shoot we're gonna do tomorrow, which is on a Saturday, on a weekend. And you said, can I come to the video shoot? Yeah, I'd love to help out on the shoot and that, you know what I mean? Sure you can, on the weekend, you spare time, cool. Everyone can come and get experience, no problem. What do you think happened? On our timesheet, at the end of the month, I saw Saturday, 8 hours. I thought, hold on. Didn't you volunteer to come out with us on Saturday? But you wanted to get more hours. That's what you wanted to do. Whereas in my mind, I believed, again, family, team, you want to be involved. No, staff member trying to get more money. I had to realize the separation between family and staff. People who work are working for money for their living. So they will try to come late, to leave early, to get extra hours, to skive, to do less work, to gain more. Because that's in humans' nature. Yeah. The problem is that I'm the boss now feeling the brunt of it. Whereas I will be the same, I'll be open. I'll be the same. When I go work, I'm now clocking a bit, clocking 5 minutes early, even though I know I came late, you get me? Leave out a little 10 minutes early, put in extra, I'll do the same. But because I'm the boss, because I'm the wage payer, yeah, I'm seeing these little sneaky things, and it's affecting me. So now, years later, I've learned, I don't give out my number no more. I hardly take phone calls. Everyone, I feel awkward. People say, like, oh yeah, let's catch up. Give me a number, innit? Or someone DMs me and say, send me a number, I want to catch up. And I'm like, how do I say this? I don't take calls no more. Or can we do emails? I don't want you to feel funny with how I run my life. I don't want to have a conversation with you not because it's you, it's because of time. I respect my time. I know I could speak to you and it could go on for 20 minutes because I'm a nice guy. I will give information, it's fine. But in that 20 minutes, you've learned a lot. And I won't say I've wasted time because I've helped a person, but I didn't have that time. And it's because you've got my number, you was able to force that time out of me. So I've learned. I only do it with emails now. And even then, now I'm finding that the more I'm moving towards more like a CEO, more like a entrepreneurial person who runs the company, I am getting a little bit of stigma. But then I look at it like, have you ever met the owner of JD Sports? Have you ever met the owner of Nike? Have you met the owner? Have you met Colonel from KFC?
Is he still around, Colonel?
You know what I mean? Have you met Ronald McDonald? So why is it because I put myself out there as accessible? Am I so accessible? When I'm trying to separate, it is kind of a cliche because I'm putting myself out there as accessible, and then when you try and rush me, I'm like, oh no, wait, we've got channels to go through. So it's a kind of contradiction. So I've learned the hard way.
Yeah, I understand. I think what I take from that is also, there's two things. The first part is principles and boundaries, right? When you spoke about the staff member doing those things, I think wherever you're in a workplace or running your own thing, it comes down to respecting your boundaries and having a level of understanding. And I think that's absolutely right and absolutely fair. And to your second part, and just knowing...
So wait, but stay on that first part a minute. Was she in the right or was I in the right? Not right, but as in, she was trying to get extra hours and tried to word it a smart way.
Yeah.
And I declined it and said, I'm only paying you Monday to Friday. I thought you was offering to come and help. What was your take on that?
Okay, so without knowing too much information on the situation, but knowing from the facts you've just shared of the expectation was a volunteer for the day, and then there's this 8-hour thing on a timesheet, there's like misunderstanding there when that seems like they shouldn't be putting forward a request for a return if it was a voluntary gig, right? So I personally am not a fan of that because I'm a fan of transparency and honesty, right? Be transparent with me, just tell me straight.
Like I felt you were swindling me.
Yeah.
And that's why I think why I reacted so bad to it.
Yeah.
Because I felt you were swindling me. If you would have said, if I come, could I get some extra hours? I would have said, okay, you can come for 8, I'll pay you for 4. Yeah. We could have had a conversation. Or was it my part as the boss to when she said, can I come and do the shoot on Saturday with you? At that moment, was I supposed to say, would you be coming voluntary or would this be for paid work? Because now I'm learning that it's my responsibility because I'm the one who's going to end up paying. Yeah,
because it seems strange if someone's asking to come along to a day
on a video shoot.
On a video shoot, you would assume that they just want
to come and experience
exactly.
it.
So I think it's it's a bit of an odd one depending on the relationship with the person as well. But personally, I'll be like, just to clarify, knowing that's happened before, like you learn as you go along.
That's why I said I'm getting great now because you lot have messed me up all this time. You swindled me all these years. Now I know what questions to ask you. Now I know what to put in your contracts.
Yeah. Now you can write the rules to the games that people have been playing.
Yeah, bruv.
Yeah. So yeah, again, from what you've said and the information presented, it does sound like there was a misunderstanding or misinterpretation of, it sounded like an opportunity to come and stand or view, not a paid gig. So again, it just sounds a bit odd, if I'm honest. And the second part of making yourself accessible, because again, knowing you and knowing your brand, I've walked down the street with you and 3 people knew you, and one person said, "Hey, can you mentor me for my business?" And I'm just like, "Whoa, I'm out here with celeb, like Dexter, right? Sign something for us." But
I mean, literally only a 5-minute walk.
Only a 5-minute walk. We just went down the street.
I wouldn't have noticed it if you didn't mention it.
Yeah.
So that means I really do live in a bubble. Because I walked down there 5 minutes and 3 different people from 3 different walks of life saw me, you know, even the person, you know, the second person who just said, ain't you blue? And I was thinking, right, you even know my nickname. So it's like, but I still just forgot about it and carried on the conversation. It's only when you mentioned, mate. So, yeah.
And I think with that, people, I think it's a complimentary thing because they already associate you with certain things and it's your personal brand. And for that person to say, hey, can you mentor me? Like, he's just met you outside. Yeah. You didn't know the guy's name.
Do you remember what happened? Do you remember we were standing there?
He was listening to our conversation.
No, he was looking through the door of the hub. And then I said to him, hey, mate. And he was like, no, I know. I just didn't want to interrupt you. I was just looking.
Yeah.
But I thought he was just like, not a nobody, but he was just nosy in the shop.
Yeah.
And it turns out he knew who I was, you know, and I didn't know his name, but yeah, like he said, he wanted to mentor me.
And I think that comes from openness and making yourself accessible. So one thing I'm a fan of is setting time boundaries. Like you mentioned, people call you. I freak out when my phone rings. Who are you callers?
Calling me.
Like I don't.
But I think that's my problem because now I want to be like that.
Okay.
Bro, you've had the same number for 16 years. It's all over the internet. How do you want people not to call you? But now I feel like, how are you phoning me? You don't have the right to phone me.
Yeah. I think it's a very personal thing with some phones. Like WhatsApp messages for me are cool. A few direct inboxes, emails for professional stuff. But calling me, like my mum usually calls me to check in.
Yeah, my dad,
right?
My mum, my aunt, yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'll answer that call. But anyone else, I sometimes stare at it going, why?
Why would you phone?
Sorry to anyone who I've missed their call.
Yeah, don't think I do it all the time looking at you now.
Usually it's in a different place and I'm not intentional, or I'm driving and I don't answer the phone when I'm driving.
Nope.
So I'm always driving when you call, but I'm not a fan of speaking. Plus it gives me headaches. The radiation from mobiles gives me headaches. So unless I've got headphones, I would never talk anyway. But if it was with business and if I'm working in a business, I would answer the phone in that capacity. Of course.
But the accessibility of my number being out there for 16 years, and people being able to just phone me or see me on the road and it was a good thing to me. Now I'm trying to curve it. And I want to become the CEO who is, let me get this right, unaccessible to a degree. Because my main goal in life was to become a CEO who is accessible. Because when I was little, I wanted to know how to start a business. I had no CEOs to ask a question. And that's what I believe I want to be for the youth of tomorrow. I want to be accessible to a degree. How do you start a clothing line? You can either come on my course and I can teach you and you can do a program, but you want a quick couple of punchlines? Cool. Hit me on my DM or let me send you this video or point you to the direct. I'll give them my time because it's a question or 2 questions. But it's when they want to phone me and say, rare. So what do you think of? Can I send you my design? Can I send you my t-shirt? Can you come down and have a look? Whoa, I can't. Time is important.
Absolutely. And if you don't respect your time, people won't respect your time.
I just bought a meme out of that. People will respect your time as much as you do.
And even for yourself, if you respect yourself and have self-respect, people will have to respect you. And I think that's another important thing out there is, respect is a two-way street. Respect is a two-way street.
100%. No, well, that was a brilliant topic. And I did want to touch on another topic today, seeing as it's our special episode, episode 5, which is a random episode, which we're just talking about random situations.
Yeah.
One of the situations I want to talk about for our viewers, this is for you guys now. You can't say we don't talk about the gems now. This is some gems. I want to talk about investments.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. It's what I'm saying, investment, serious times.
Mic got
and we're not
excited.
even stopping because the mic got excited when we talk about investments, you get me? And they're only props anyway, as you can see, we're mic'd up proper, yeah? So anyway, investments. Why I want to talk about investments? Because when I teach, when I do mentoring, the word investment, and I even teach in business school in Children's Holiday Club. And I remember teaching this word about investment and what it means to them. And one of my explanations was, investment doesn't always necessarily mean money. You can invest your time. You can invest your money. You can invest your skill. You can invest, you know what I mean? Or you can give something as an investment that can bring back something. But in terms of investment, obviously it's a mindset thing and people think different. What's the gems you can bring off the top of your head regarding what to invest in, how to invest, and if you should invest. Yeah, let's just touch on those subjects.
I think that's a great topic. So firstly, I'll start with investment as an input and an output. Okay. Yeah. And that's very simply put, but there are multiple facets to investing. So one of the things we've alluded to is that I chose going down the educational route, right? Or went and did certain qualifications, certain degrees. That was an investment. That could have been a car. But instead I said, no, in the next few years, I feel like this will be valuable for my skill set, for my growth, to do it.
What I call that is investing in yourself.
100%. And I think that's where your first investment should be, is invest in your knowledge, invest in yourself.
I agree.
Money comes and goes, right? You'll make money, you'll lose money, but you learn along the way. Yeah. But when it comes to certain things, you can't take away experience and you can't take away certifications. Or knowledge, right? That stays with you. So first and foremost, I think it's trying to go about things the right way. And this is why I'm so happy we're setting this up, that people can learn from our mistakes. Yeah. And when it comes to investments, I've made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah,
right?
Me too. I invest every day and I lose every day. So it's good that we're talking about it because the losses of my investments is what I would like to highlight. Yeah. Because people think every time you invest, you just win. So, yeah.
And there's a few things. So I'm going to take it back to school.
Yeah.
In our school, you have made it if your family pulls up in a nice car and you've got Nike Air Trainers.
And you got a Parker pen. I used to have Parker pen.
Or maybe Clark shoes. Yeah. Clark Wallabies.
I had Clarks. I had 3 Parker pens. Yeah. And my parents drove in a nice car sometimes. Because remember, my life was up and down.
So mine was slightly opposite, right? And I love my parents and everything they've done for me. But we used to pull up in a Fiat Panda, which was red but started turning orangey pink. Right? So, and you know, our school was behind the oval.
Yeah.
So you probably didn't know this, but when it came to school getting out time, we'd get there a bit early next to the oval, duck, jump out the car and run across the zebra crossing to get to school. And when we did our registration at the end of the day, my brother and I would be the first ones out of school. Again, it felt like a getaway car. Yeah. It's like, you got to look around, who's looking, jump in, drive. Because you didn't want people to see your cars, right? So when gold started coming about, investment, you know, if I look at what my mindset was at that time, it's like, to be successful and to be seen as successful, you need the right clothing and the right car. And then initially, you know, I was like, yeah, I'm going to save up for my first Nike Air Max Classics because Nike wasn't good enough because someone said, well, you haven't got an air bubble on there, so it doesn't count. It's like, right, when you're trying to fit in. Car-wise, I've had beautiful cars.
How many cars would you say you had?
Altogether?
Yeah, roughly. See if you've had more cars than me, and he's a car guy.
I think about 9.
What is it? I've had 25.
Oh, that's too many for me.
Is it?
You know, I look after my cars.
I've had Aston Martin. Well, I haven't had it, but I've literally had it for a week. Aston Martin DB7.
Nice.
Bright orange.
Really?
It's a mad thing.
So Astons are my favourite cars.
Oh, is it?
So I've got a reg plate for my future car. When I start, you know, going for certain goals, I've got a certain. So here's a clue. I don't know if you can see the cufflink here, but I've got a reg.
Okay, you're going for the Aston Martin 007 type of one.
So I've got a reg plate with that on it.
Yeah.
So that will come.
Which is also an investment.
It's an investment
because
for later.
If you was to sell that license plate, you can get money for it.
Exactly. So Aston, you know, I'm passionate about cars and I can talk for this entire podcast about cars, but I will spare everyone that pain because a lot of them might not be, a lot of our viewers might not be into it. But Aston Martins, for example, so on the subject of cars, people are leasing cars, right? So they've got deposit, they've got monthly payments, PCP. Yeah. So personally, I've always bought my cars. All of my cars, I've had Rangers, I've had BMs, I have, you know the V8s and stuff, my convertible classic cars, I've done up cars, but I'm not saying it's wrong. I think once we've had a lease car because it just seemed convenient for school runs, but all of my personal cars, I've always owned outright because I hate direct debits, first of all, and I've always liked ownership of my things. And I always look at depreciation. So for example, I buy cars, so if you think of Warren Buffett, multi-millionaire, but he buys his cars when they've reached maximum depreciation. So that if you look at the annual cost of your car, you've got to look at depreciation, running cost, and a resale value, right? So when I look at it like that, I've gone, okay, I don't need the flashiest car. I need a car which I enjoy. So right now I've got a 4.8 500 bhp type car, or maybe slightly less than 500, some might say. It's, thereabouts. It's fast. Basically, it's too fast for the roads, right? And I don't drive like in an inappropriate way. I go to the racetracks, but it's sufficient for me. It's not the latest car, it's a slightly older car, but I'm cool with it. I've got my property, right? So for me, investing in things which will go up in value is more important than wasting money. So when I see people pay £500 for a car, like a new Merc, which they've got to give back at the end of 2 years, I'm like, that's
£500 a month.
£500 a month.
Yeah.
So that's £6,000 in 1 year, it's 12 grand in 2 years. What you were better off doing was buying an Aston Martin in finance because the depreciation is less than £6,000 a year.
No. Do that calculation for us again.
Sorry.
You're going to pay 12 grand for a car in payments.
For 2
But
years.
if you buy an Aston Martin, or if you lease one.
If you buy an Aston Martin on finance, so let's say it's a PCP, right? You've taken out a car, you're paying £500 a month towards this car on a lease deal, and you give it back in under 2 years, right? Now, assuming the Aston Martin's good, and it doesn't have much wear and tear and depends on mileage, and it's not a car you take to the supermarket, obviously. Yeah. But just from a finance, purely numbers and logic point of view, if you bought an Aston Martin, so let's say a DB9 is about 35 grand, okay? That car doesn't depreciate much, so long as you treat it right. So let's say it drops 2 grand in 2 years. If you've dropped 2 grand, and once you pay the insurance and road tax and all that stuff, and basic services, it's not going to cost you 12 grand over 2 years. It might cost you 3 grand.
But wait, don't you still have monthly payments?
You have your monthly payments, but you resell it. So it's interest.
Then you resell it, yeah.
You resell it, right? So you have lesser interest payments on your payments. So not to complicate things, but simply put, if you look at a car, you've got to look at depreciation value. So I think of our audiences, and everyone's like, I want to get an M6 and an M5, and I want to get the latest RS3 Audi, and I want to get a 1 Series 135. I'm showing off my knowledge about cars. I know my things. AMG Merc, C63s, E60, whatever it is, right? So that's all well and good. I tell you what I do. I would personally have an older car as I do and spend a good few £100s on a racetrack and drive a Lamborghini, Nissan GTR, Audi R8 Spider, and that's exactly what I've driven Ferraris, I've driven all the big cars, and I love it. And I drive it on a racetrack where they're meant to be driven, and I let it out. I've driven Ford Mustangs, I've driven the Fast and Furious car ranges.
Oh, yeah.
But what I do is I'd rather have a sufficient car, get my feel of driving on the track, and use that other money that I could have put into that, a newer car, into education or a business or growth. So when you ask the question about investment, I think with anything there's opportunity cost, but you can put in something else. So going to a trainer example, you can spend 100 and some, I don't know how much 110s. They used to be called 110s when we were at school.
They're 150 now.
150, 150.
They're bare money, bruv.
Whatever they are, the 90K trainers.
I got 97s on, but you know what I mean, innit? They're expensive. They used to be called 110s because there was only 110.
Now imagine you'd bought a few shares in a company.
I got night shares.
You got night shares, right? So shares in a company, what people have to realise is you put money into a company, and there's 2 ways you get paid. You get dividends.
Yeah, I get dividends. I got dividends from Apple yesterday.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I got two shares. I got 2 dividends from Apple yesterday.
Amazing.
Yeah. I'm learning, bruv. Investments.
So you get your dividends in there, and then, if you sell on at a higher price, then you've made a profit, right? So when you look at everything as an investment, it's what's your input, what you're getting out of it. Now, obviously, there's timing's very important as well. So some things you might put in and forget about for 10 years. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin's now 40 grand thereabout pounds, 50,000 plus dollars. That was floating at 2.5 grand. Yeah. I sold 2 at 2.5 grand. Yeah. Okay. Now imagine my feeling now, because I wanted, because
2.5, and now they're 15 grand each.
Almost 40 something grand, around 40 grand mark.
Each.
Yeah, each. Yeah. So you look at that and you're like, I've just thrown money away. But you know what? I'm not bothered.
You don't.
It's a lesson. So you're like, okay,
I sold Zoom. Sorry, I sold Zoom. When Zoom bust, I knew COVID is gonna make Zoom go out the roof. Mm-hmm. I watched it. It went up. I cashed out. I bought it again. Went up. Went down. Boris on his nonsense, in and out, shake it all about. So Zoom was going up and down until it started going down. I said, no, I'm selling up. I sold up Zoom, I think it was 128 or something. Zoom's 400 and something pound now.
Really?
Because each share, I'm angry.
Well, there you go. It's live and learn. And I think that is the element of patience. So I think when you said, should you get into investments, like you need a certain mindset, because where you have to be careful is where it triggers into gambling. Because
100%.
that's a weakness. As humans, we have weaknesses, and you know that sort of gambling mindset you just want to stay away from. So you have to be in control of your emotions, look at it as an investment, and maybe forget about things. So put things in aside and remember in 10 years. So I do have some Ethereum, for example. Which,
I bought that one time with my mate and that, and I don't know what happened to it. Either I just let the app die out or something, bruv. But that was the first kind of share or stock or whatever I was told about, the lithium and the other one before crypto came out.
Yeah.
And then I think I just closed it because I didn't get it.
Sometimes it can be a headache, right? So that's why it comes back to mindset. You have to sort of control your emotions, because for me, it's like when something was going great, I was feeling great. When something was going down, it was affecting my emotions. You know, I went from like a Aston Martin DB9 to like a Ford Fiesta. And it's like all in 2 days.
It's all happening, yeah.
So I've lost money as well. But you know, it's for some people. It's not for everyone. Personally, if I was to share my thoughts on it, I think you should only invest money you can afford to lose, because things can go up and they can easily go down.
I've been told that you should only borrow money that you can afford to lose.
That too, right? So if you're using the bank's money, there's different concepts on using leverage money, and I won't go into that. But personally, I decided to invest in myself. I'm invested in my business, and I've got a 5-year plan for what I'm working on, right? So for me, I'm focusing my energy because, like we spoke about off screen, we're only one person. We have only so much energy to spend. I'm an adventurer. I'm a traveler. I personally like to throw money on traveling. I say throw money. It's experience, right? £5 notes is not, you know, average holidays, right? But no, okay holidays. And I've been to some beautiful destinations: Dubai, Maldives, parts of America. Nice.
Hollywood?
Been to Hollywood, yeah. LA, hired a Ford Mustang in LA, convertible, and it rained the whole time I was there. Right?
Annoying, but you still had the hood down, right?
Down Hollywood Boulevard, people watching me like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And I went to an award ceremony.
He's just an Indian.
Yeah, he's just an Indian. Remember that? Just an Indian is about
that
Hollywood
was him.
Boulevard, Harvard.
Harvard.
Let's not forget, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I personally like divide up my expenditure. So family, obviously your priorities, you need a roof over your head. I have a place, and I'm grateful that I was able to purchase a place in the postcode we grew up, right? So I'm very grateful. And that's what
In congestion.
In congestion.
My guy.
So
see that there? My guy.
In a humble way, it's, you know, this was beyond a dream at one point. But you have to work for it. So for me, it's like, okay, I should get an asset rather than putting money on rent. So I went ahead and I did it 10 years ago.
10 years ago? You're lucky, bro. I only disclose my business, but only the recent few years I'd buy my property, you get me? And I sold it, because if I would have bought it 10 years ago, about 70 grand on top. That is gone on top, you know what I mean? But I didn't know the knowledge. I didn't know how to buy a property back then and stuff.
Mine was a fluke. It was only because I was living at home with my parents, and my dad's once said, and my dad is a lovely guy. He's a very jovial character. He always jokes. My dad was more of our brother than our dad, right? Yeah. But he's like...
He was a nice guy.
He was a funny guy.
He was a nice guy.
So he's like, do you even live here? Because I'd be out, he'd see me like a Saturday morning, then I'm gone again. And I was like, oh, my family's so lovely. But it was just in a jovial way. But I'm like, I should get my own place. And you know, Indian culture, you kind of stay at your family until you get married off.
Yeah.
It's just a cultural thing. So I was like, yeah, I'll get my own place. So then I didn't move too far from my parents' home because I love my mum's breakfast, and you know, nothing beats mum's cooking. But I moved to a place where there's like an Indian takeaway, Chinese takeaway. There's like kebab shop, everything underneath.
Yeah.
Sorry to anyone who's vegan and everything else, like, you know.
bless.
Right, but so that was an investment. So I'd say, you know, you've got to do what's within your means. I think the biggest thing on investment from my part is do what is within your means. And invest wisely, but don't do things blindly. Because when I first got into crypto and I lost a fair bit, which I then made up in other ways, I went in blind because of the hype. And by the time it reaches mainstream, there are cycles we don't know about, like the property thing. No one told me that every 10 years the property prices double. If I'd known that...
Every 10 years.
Every 10 years, there's a certain cycles, there's a certain seasonality.
Yeah, so that's why I missed that thing there. You get me? My thing gone up.
But it's still not too late, because...
No, it wasn't too late. I still got my property for a decent amount of price, and I got me a little discount too, so put me on the ladder a little bit.
Brilliant. And in the next 10 years, again, things will doubling and doubling and doubling. And so you got to look
Hopefully
at areas.
we'll have Westfield there, make my prices go up. You get me? Oh yeah, just told you where I got my property in it. Yeah, in Croydon, yeah, you get me? But yeah, things is happening. Yeah, investment.
So anything I've shared, again, it's not to say like made loads. It's just in a knowledge sharing way, in a humble way, because these things were a dream for me. That how am I growing up in Kennington, you know, going to university, doing these things is all like a dream once. To now come back, and it was almost like we're reporting back, like we've gone into the world and we've come back to tell you our story.
That is like the brilliantest way to put it, because we didn't. But I don't say we didn't believe, because you had to have belief.
Yeah, 100%.
But we didn't see like we was gonna come back, have conversations like this, and have some achievements to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Because we come from the crud, we come from the concrete, the hard, you know, and that's what goes to show. No matter where you're from, no matter what you look like, no matter what you're going through, your household, you got to learn to dig deeper.
Yeah, 100%.
And you've got to cover your skin to make it thick, because it doesn't just become thick. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when you lose investments, that's giving more thick to your skin, because you know the feeling. Yeah. Like a lot of people talk a lot and don't know the feeling of running a business. A lot of people talk a lot, don't know the feeling of investing their own money. A lot of people talk a lot and don't know the feeling of losing. Like I've took many losses. Like a lot of people think I'm winning, I'm doing stuff, I run my own companies, whatever. I've taken so much losses, and I'm proud of them because I tried. I tried. I can't even see it as a loss. I tried, and I now know what didn't work. Like even at the beginning of this last year, everyone saw I invested in a teeth whitening company.
Oh yeah.
You understand? It's number one teeth whitening company in Germany. I still stand by that. It didn't fail. It's just that I got overloaded. But I've still got, you know, a couple of quid, 4 quid sitting in it. And I don't look at it like I'm rich, I can have money just sitting in stuff. I don't look at it like, oh, I wish I never invested in that. I just see it as that could have been my opening. So I tried. And it's still not lost, because last week I got a phone call. 2 shops, 2 beauty people who does personal things, real stuff. They want to invest in it. I'm thinking, hold on, I might need to phone the dentist again to get back on it. But if they're going to run it, you know what I mean? So I've invested in, like the lithium thing, I invested in that. I lost about 200 quid, you know what I mean? It wasn't loads of money, but it's money to lose. I've lost monies in equipment. I've lost money. Let me tell you what I've lost a lot of money. Because people don't know, you don't get it. Tables. And poles and rails and stuff. Then they go missing. Like think about it. When I was doing pop-up shops in 2013 and 14, I would go to certain places like shopping centres, and to do a pop-up shop in a shopping centre, you need to be official, meaning you need to have receipts, meaning you need to have a till, meaning you need to have counters. I don't own none of this stuff, so I had to buy counters. I had to buy tills. And then after the 2 weeks of pop-up shop, you crack back on with life and they get stored somewhere. Then when you go to pick them back up, the till's broke. And then when you go to pick up the rail's gone. Then you move on. But that's my money. I've invested in a lot of stuff that I've lost on. But you crack on. You know what I mean?
100%. I mean, when it comes to financial advice, I'm always very reserved of what I shared. I know we're talking about it with a good intention to help people and get them to think differently. And again, I'm not saying I've made all the best choices in my life. I'm just saying that if I'd had financial education at an earlier age, I would have made better decisions.
I'd have made a lot more money.
Yeah, same. It's like...
Financial education, are you mad? We still don't have it now.
No, we don't, absolutely.
I'm just learning it, you know what I mean? But if I had a little bit of it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whoa.
And that's what I'd say as well, like people are lucky now. We came from a time where mobile phones were just sort of kicking off. We had the game of snakes you can play.
What are you talking about? I come from pagers.
Pagers, okay.
I had pagers before mobile phones. Yeah, I had pager, then I had to go phone box. I remember when 1-to-1 came out, proper remember, as in we was in the car, the lady said, there's this new phone, M301 flip. If you know your thing, you know your thing. M301 flip phone, 1-to-1, 3 after 7, 3 on weekends.
Motorola.
£10. It was £10.
Yeah.
And years later, 1-to-1 tried to buy all those SIM cards back off everyone because it was 3 after 7. You know what I mean? But as in when it first came out, I've come from pages. Then we went to phones. So that lesson of learning to not have, being able to still communicate, then to have and being able to communicate a certain way before social media, this has given us a lot of, I don't know, a lot of oomph and thick skin and ability. Because I feel like, you know, it's going way off, but not way off. But I feel like today, a lot of our youth, a lot of our even adults, they're entitled. Because they haven't gone through the grind. You know, they expect just to give me something. All right then, we're talking about investment. I had to invest in a lot of my phones that I bought. A lot of phones that these kids have got, or these youth have got, or these adults have got, they're on finance. There wasn't finance back then. Or our people didn't have good credit to get finance back then. Now you can walk into a shop, you can get an iPhone, and you can have it loads of minutes, loads of data, £10 a month. I think that builds entitlement.
And on that point, so you said like the pages. I remember getting a mobile phone when I was in sixth form, and that was reluctantly because...
Bless him. He said sixth form, I had a mobile phone in year 7.
Yeah, so you had a phone in year 7.
Bless Donny. Bless Don.
Because firstly, I was mindful of money because I didn't like spending much money back then. I was always about saving.
I never saved until I was like 30.
Right now, we are in an information-rich society, yet knowledge-poor society. And when I say that...
No, I get it. I get that straight away.
Because you mentioned the pager and various other things, right? And that's great, and that's communication between peers and friends, and the things you can do to communicate completely. But right now, people have access to the internet and knowledge. They've got influencers giving out free information. So we're here talking about investments, and we're sort of touching in and out of things. Again, with investments, I get very nervous about suggesting specific things, usually because it's your personal choice. And I think gut instinct is so important.
Yeah, we're not taking no blame.
We take no disclaimer.
We're not taking no blame. Disclaimer, I never told you to invest in. I just told you what I invested in, all right?
And to look into it, right?
Look into it.
If you're into investments, and follow the people on Instagram or whatever who are influencers, go on YouTube. You know, our channel is set up for more broader knowledge as well as touching on certain points. But I think, you know, you have got so much information out there. You can either use it to watch funny videos or things that are going to progress your life. So that's also an investment. When you're on Instagram, that's an investment because it's your time.
You go through your school. I've learned this so long ago. If you don't want to see booty shaking and people chatting rubbish and funny jokes, stop following those pages. Follow knowledge pages. Follow influencers. Follow business owners. You know, I like to go down my timeline and just get vibe. You know, stay on one's page for a couple because I know, I missed his last 2 videos. I hardly got twerking down my page. I hardly got meme pages. Yes, we all like to laugh, but I think I'm in a serious stage of my life. So as we're talking about investment, the time that we're investing in looking at apps, I want it to benefit me. Yes, again, laughing is benefiting me, but there's time and places for jokes.
100%.
Most of the time, when I go on social media, and this is something for the public, yes, I'm across a few platforms. Yes, I am regularly on them. But when I am on them, I'm physically working. Physically, I mean, the time it takes me to look at everybody who's liked my picture. Yes, I look at every single person who's liked my picture. Why? Because I want to know who's new. And I want to know if you're real. And I want to know where you've come from. Yes, I might not be able to work it out all the time. But if I click into you and you've got, I don't know, 3 posts and rare, I feel like, oh, where did you come from? What do you do? You're kind of dodgy, cool. Then I look at, you know, you might have cars in there. And I think, oh, imagine that. I just went to an award show, sitting next to a guy who does cars. Since he's followed me, a couple car guys follow me. I analyze, I proper analyze. The time it takes me to go through my comments and reply to people, then go to another page and go to DMs and then post. I've already been on Instagram for about 45 minutes. So I don't have no extra time now to scroll through different crazy stuff or go and check up on, I would say, friends. If you want to check your friend, you phone them. I don't need to see what you're doing on social media. Hopefully that you're doing something progressive, and I just hope that. But if you're not in my timeline, I might not see your post.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all comes down to choice, how you spend your day. And like I mentioned in one of our previous episodes, that when I was deciding to do that MBA, and again, I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all to do these things, but I simply made a decision that I'm going to spend less time on Facebook and use that evening time instead on my studies. And now I've got 3 initials at the end of my name that I can come and talk about, and it's giving me knowledge, it's giving me structure.
It's giving you value.
It's giving me value. It's added, to have that under my name, it's like I wasn't even sure if I was going to go to university. Now, like we always say, it doesn't matter whether you go to university or not. It's grit, it's determination, and what you put in is your output. And again, it's all investment of your time and mental space. But that was my example of sacrificing social media and just going and studying something where I got value, met people, made a network. I've gone into business with some of these people as well for something else I'm working on a mental health app, which I don't usually talk about. But yeah, so you build an entire network and it just grows you. I think everything for me is about growth. And if something hasn't gone your way, then hey, it's a lesson. But it's perspective on looking at it. And that's why I say not to take risks which are going to affect your home, your family, and your mood.
Calculated risks. Yes? Calculated risks. Not just any risk, calculated risks. Because I love how you manage to go through your MBA. How? By sacrificing just your social media time. Because a lot of people say they ain't got time, but they use a lot of time doing foolishness. Yeah. So if you can calculate your foolishness time, like as in, what time do you wake up? That's just normal. If you don't have a job, you can't be waking up at 12. I'm just telling you, you missed a lot of hours. So that's the first sacrifice, the time you wake up. The time you go sleep. You can go sleep at 8, but you've got a few more hours that you could be working. Or if you go sleep at 1, what was you doing from 8 till 1? Playing computer. So you can sacrifice a little computer time. You have to manage your time, see what you can sacrifice in order to gain. And that's why I love that you've used that analogy, because it was a real life analogy, that you've just taken away just my Facebook time to go and be able to study and get those initials. That's amazing.
And I don't think I spoiled anyone's life by not posting about cars in that time
That's
either.
what I'm saying.
I don't think they missed me either. So it's like, what was I doing? Why was I spending so much time on this platform? But I think, Dexter, we come to a really important point, which is not only what value are we adding to our lives, but what value do we add to others, and what value do we add whether we're doing something in our own business or the workplace. And I say that because, I sometimes am a bit concerned about the amount of information out there, and how easy it is to watch one video and go into a trail, and the next thing you know, you've watched like 7 or 8 videos, and that's like half an hour ago.
Yeah, it sucks your time.
So that's why I worry that the people we're trying to approach, and those who we want to listen to our podcast in particular, you might be at early stages in your career.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want all these jobs, you can't talk about how many videos you've watched on YouTube or TikTok as your this is my life experience.
Bro!
Do you know what I mean?
Right, come on, you've got to have a balance of what have you actually done?
Exactly.
Because I'll be open, and this is the craziest thing I will say on our podcast. Stop watching us. Start doing. Stop watching us. Start doing. Like, I love that you're going to watch us, subscribe, like, you watch us every week. But I hope you're doing something every week to progress your life. Because as much as we want views, as much as we want every week more for ourselves, I hope that you are taking this knowledge and building something for yourself until you get to like episode 9 and you'll be like, I ain't even got time to watch episode 10 because my podcast is taking off now. I will be more than happy to see our views go down if we was to get some emails to say, yeah, I've stopped watching you now because guess what? My life turned up because of the knowledge you've got. You know what I mean? It's time to start implementing the knowledge you so-called obtained from social media. Let's do less watching, liking, clicking, and let's do more action.
Walk the walk, talk the talk. Be a doer, not just a talker.
Don't talk about it, be about it. And you lot know I've been saying that since 2000 and I think it was 9. Remember when I said it's not always about the keys in the streets, because people used to ask, why have you got so much keys? Remember, I'm not a road youth no more. So it's not always about the keys in the streets. It's about different type of keys. And remember what else I said? You soon see me with Alicia keys. But keep that one quiet, you get me? Because Swiss might not like me.
Did you come in?
But yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you've got some gems. And look out for what's about to happen after. Because we can't even say. It's zipped. We're stopping it right there. Episode 5. I hope you've enjoyed. Take it in, re-watch them, repost them, like and subscribe, but more importantly, start implementing.
100%.
Yeah?
Thank you so much for listening. Stay well, stay positive. Again, Dexter and myself, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Proper.
But look out for more.
Still watch.